The time of transition from Steve Jobs as leader of Apple to Tim Cook was an incredibly charged moment. Very close to his own death, he said to Tim Cook, "I don't ever want you to ask, what would Steve Jobs do? I want you to do what is right."
And here it is.
None of the genius that is attributed to Steve Jobs would ever been able to happen had it not been for the supply chain that Tim Cook built. And when he started, there wasn't much of a supply chain. Apple actually made a lot of its own products. Then Tim Cook dismantled that. He began to assemble an amazing sort of chain of suppliers. Apple would deeply integrate with these suppliers, going way upriver to fundamental technologies so that they would be the first in line to get them and they would be made to the standards that Apple wanted. The combination of all those things gave Apple an advantage that to this day, no other electronics company has, and it's very hard to imagine that anyone ever would.
The Apple Watch is the most advanced timepiece ever created.
To say, oh, Cook hasn't come out with an amazing, groundbreaking product like Steve Jobs has, well, the climate isn't quite ready for that to happen. Things like the iPhone, the iPad, the iPod were the product of the right moment when memory became affordable and processors became more energy efficient and display technology reached a certain point that you could start to actually make those products. I would argue that right now, we're a little bit in between the next big moment. He remains the only openly homosexual CEO of a Fortune 500 company, which seems shocking, but it's true. His own privacy was becoming outweighed by the need to contribute to a raising of tolerance. He seems to now have moved into other areas as well. He has been very vocal on the aspects of privacy. He has made the company very environmentally responsible, and he famously said something along the lines of, "We are trying to leave the world better for our children than it was for us, and if you're not interested in us doing that, you should get out of our stock."
When you're out in the wild, you will see Macs everywhere now. They're in businesses, they're in coffee shops and airports, and hopefully they're in your living room.
Cook occupies a position in business that arguably no other person does. Apple has actually performed better financially under Tim Cook than it had under Steve Jobs. So he has a lot of wind behind his sails, if you will, to be able to be in the vanguard. And he wants to use it so that his legacy isn't just supply chains and product development, but also potentially a different way that companies can behave in the world and affect real change.